Hello guys, how's it going? So this is a form check video that I had posted on my Instagram yesterday. Send me your videos and I will do a form check and I will give you my opinion on how I think your technique is, where you need to work on, where you need to prioritize more, or what, based on the video that I'm seeing, what might be your muscle imbalance, what might be a sticking point, and then I will give you my opinion on it and you can start to implement it on your training as well. This is a form check video. I will be talking mostly about what you're doing incorrectly or what I feel like you could improve on, or basically try and make you better. So don't get discouraged if I say something and then, because finding the problem is where you start learning, right? Lifters all over the world, let it be a beginner, intermediate, advanced, elite level lifters, no matter who they are, there's always room to improve. There's always more space to fine tune and then try out something different which might help you, and then uh, seeing it from a third eye perspective is always better, because there is no such thing as perfect. So with that being said, I capped off the number of submissions at 10, and I removed the story, and I just took in, like, and then I stopped taking in more videos, because I want to give each and every one of you who submitted first the priority, let's say. There were a few which I took later also, but then if this turns out to be good, I will do it more often, maybe once a month or once in 2 or 3 months or something like that. So some of you guys have submitted more than one video, so त्यो case भयो भने चाहिँ I don't want to disregard your lift completely, but it'll be slightly less detailed in comparison to if you've submitted one video, and I will be pointing out the things that looks obvious that you want to improve first, and then less and less and less and less, and then if there's more than flaws that I can cover in a single video, I will be talking about the things that you want to cover first. So with that being said, let's get to the first video for today. So let's get on to the first video of the day. So the first video comes from Aryan Sinuyum. So he sends and he says, "This is my lifting video for your form check video. It's my PR attempt and I guess it went pretty well. All the best for the video. Thanks, bro." So let's see what you've got here. Okay, looks good. So I can already see a few things, but let's cover up. Let's start from where it actually matters the most. So your starting position, I'm not sure if the mats are elevating the height of the deadlift or not, but let's assume they're from standard height. In your starting position, it kind of looks like your hips are a bit lower than where it actually should be, and your shoulders are tipped forward more. So as you can see, before you even initiate the pull, your body puts yourself in the perfect position it has to be in at the start. So if that, I don't know if that makes sense or not. So just look at this position, right? You go from here, this position, up to almost this position without the bar breaking the floor. So this is actually a position that you need to be in when you're initiating the pull. So if that makes sense, so you're wasting the energy from for your body to move from almost like this position up to this position without the bar even moving. So if I would say, if you put yourself in this position in the starting place, you'd be better off. But obviously your shoulder needs to be slightly behind, so your knees need to create more space, and then from this place on is just standing straight up. One more thing I noticed was, once you locked out, look at the position of this barbell. Look at the position of the barbell, how it twists towards the other side. See that? So that's a problem which is mostly caused when you're using the mixed grip, as it's because this hand is on the underhand side, the lats are not as engaged, and then overhand side it's overly engaged. So what you want to do is, before even initiating the pull, you want to really tighten up both the lats and then try to pull this arm towards your body more, if that makes sense, and that would make your deadlift quite good. So two things: work on your starting position, and focus on engaging the lats on that side even more. Other than that, it's a pretty solid deadlift. I would say it's a good deadlift. So I hope that helped you with your deadlifting. So let's get to another video. This video comes from Poo Poo. So first thing I noticed when I looked at your video is the fact that I think you're not hitting depth, and the depth I would want to see is at least to parallel or slightly even below that. So I would first say lighten up the load a little bit and then do more pause squats and then do more tempo squats to find the hole properly, and then figure out a way to put your knees out of the way so you can let the upper body, like your upper body, sink into the hole even better. So that's the first thing I would want to tell you. Other than that, like, your starting position looks pretty solid. And the main thing I noticed here is your bracing. You're taking in too much air. Jani. Like you're taking air as if अर्को 2 मिनटसम्म सास फेर्नु पाउँदैन भनेर सास लिएको. So you don't need that much air to survive a single rep in a squat. So what I would say is take in a smaller sip of air. So like मात्रै गरेर, so if you, when you take a smaller sip, it directly goes to your stomach, believe it or not. अहिले try गर्दा नि हुन्छ. Just take a small breath into your stomach and then push the belt out really hard, and then that will uh, put lungs that will put air where it needs to be. That's your stomach, and then I think it's gonna help your bracing even more. But then and one last thing is this position. So when you initiate the lift, right, so you're taking it too much to your hips, so your toes are literally coming off the floor, which isn't a good thing, because when you're squatting you need to be planted equally, हुन्छ नि, like खुट्टाको सबै portionबाट it should be pressing against the ground, and then you're taking the power of your quads, the power of your knees away from the equation. So it has to be 50% hips, 50% knees. So your squats are like too much hips and less of knees, and then when it goes to the bottom, you're already so much pressure is on the knee, so it has to be kind of in the middle. I hope you get my point. So I hope that kind of helps your cause, but focus on depth, focus on planting your feet into the ground. Doesn't matter if you have to go slightly lighter, but get the technique correct and break. Okay, Arco video. This video comes from Sushil. So he sends a bench press video. Just let's have a look first. Okay, so first thing that comes to my mind when you're setting up for the bench is I personally like the flat foot, like the flat feet setup, but you can do whatever you want. But the main point of arch is so you can use your leg drive effectively. So when you're bench pressing, you want to be pushing forward with your toes. You're kind of like pressing down against the floor, so that makes your hips move up and down. So you want to be pushing the floor forward like you were doing a leg extension yokutale, or almost like that. And one more thing is bench press is pec dominant movement. So when you're bench pressing, you want to be using more of your chest rather than any other muscle as well. So you want, for the entire range of motion, you want to be sticking out your chest like that. So you're using the chest most of the time and not any other muscle, because as you come down, you're in like a very awkward position for your shoulders to be in, and your head is kind of like coming off the bench, which uh, is a red flag in a competition. But like even for training, if your head is flat on the pad, it makes it better to use more chest. So there's nothing much about it. Your bar path is decent. It's just two things, and then you want to be placed in one position so you don't shake around too much, and then the fidgeting here and everywhere else gets minimized. Because bench press is like एकदमै it looks very simple, but then there's more technique in the bench press than, for me at least, there are more cues for me to handle in the bench press when compared to other squats and bench press. So just focus on these things, and it should help you, man. Next video comes from Dawa Yonjan. So it's a deadlift video. Let's have a look first. Looks pretty solid. यसमा पनि अघि जस्तै like अलिकति यहाँनिर I see some twisting towards the other side, but that's normal mixed gripमा. But then first thing अघि नै भने जस्तो just focus on your tightness. But other than that, this deadlift looks pretty solid. I don't know why, but सबैजना is using extra mats to elevate their deadlift, because when you elevate a deadlift, it makes it like कम्ती elevation हुँदाखेरि it makes it even harder, because off the floor you won't be able to use your legs so much, and it's more of a back movement when you put like small blocks. I normally put small blocks for training the lower back, especially like when I want to prioritize more training for the back and shoulders, traps, all the sort of things. I like using this variation, but quite interesting. So first things first, you need to be stronger in your hips. So I would recommend you do some mobility, so-called mobility for your hips, so you can sit in a wider position. For that, there are a few exercises. Off the back of my mind, I can just think of side lunges for now. Just make sure you can open up your hips a lot more. It looks like you're just shifting into the sumo deadlift, so you're not kind of mobile enough to get into that position right away. And the other thing is like when you're locked out, you want your knees and your hips to be extended and in a straight line. So this lockout position here wouldn't pass in a competition because you're not fully extended. And one more thing, I feel like your left or right side balance पनि ठिक ठाउँमा छैन, just like the hand position. So there are a lot of things to be worked on in a sumo deadlift, because it's a lot more technical than the conventional deadlift. Oh, and one more thing, I don't think you should be wearing squat shoes for deadlifting, because it places more emphasis on the quads, and you want to be as flat and centered to the ground. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but it kind of looks like a squat shoes from my point of view. So I hope that kind of helps you out, and uh, those are a lot of things to keep in mind, but in your next training session, focus them one at a time. So Orgo video comes from Sushovan. So this is also a deadlift video, so let's see. Alright, so first, deadlift गर्दाखेरि, if you're training for powerlifting specifically, or any strength sport, I don't see the point of doing touch and go deadlifts. There is a place for eccentric, बिस्तारै eccentric गर्ने deadlift, but then a deadlift should always start it should mostly start from the bar being dead, so that's why it's called a deadlift, right? तर touch and go deadlifts गर्दाखेरि there is one advantage of doing touch and go deadlift, that's you can actually find out how your starting position should actually look like. So like deadlift it's very hard to get the starting position correct, so I'll just show you to what I mean. So when you're this is your first rep, so when you're doing this, uh, your hips kind of move in a like up and down movement without halinja, then you stand right back up. But then when you go back to do your second rep, that's actually the perfect starting position for your deadlift. See this? So this for you, in my opinion, like like if your hips are slightly back and your knees are just an inch forward, that would be like a perfect starting position for you. So your hips don't move after the point. You see this part? Yeah, so what I want you to keep in mind is when you're starting position, this while it may look like a perfect starting position, it might not necessarily be the perfect starting position. So तपाईँको second rep देखिको चाहिँ is your starting position, and I would advise you to do the deadlift like it should be done, meaning like dead position but lift it up, and then we can focus more on how your technique looks after that point. So for now, just focus on creating this starting position and uh, doing the deadlift like it's supposed to be done. And that's kind of it, man. Everything else looks kind of good. Next video comes from Anmol Shakya. So मैले यो भिडियोमा चाहिँ हिजो नै I got quite confused. दुईजनाले किन एउटा भिडियो पठाइरहेछ दुईटा डिफ्रेन्ट मान्छेले भने. Turns out they're brothers and they train together. So let's have a look at the brothers deadlift here. You actually do like a pretty good job. I don't see any mistake because your starting position looks pretty solid. You're letting the bar settle before you initiate the pull. Let me see. Yeah, man, your deadlift, like to start off, it looks pretty solid. Obviously, like before you initiate the pull, there is a little bit of like front and back movement, which is very common, especially since you're just starting out. That like I don't see a major problem with your technique here. So thumbs up for that, man. This looks pretty solid. So what I want you to focus now is developing a good foundation, like राम्रो training program राखेर and try and keep progressing and working and try and make it better every single time. But uh, it could I'm not too sure, but I would try to narrow the stance just slightly, like an inch on both sides, so which will allow you to use your hips and hamstring even more. But other than that, man, it looks pretty good. And then when you stand up with the bar, you don't have to do that movement, so it's just like a straight point from A to B, so siddha mathi lane, and then that's about it. So when the reason I'm telling you this is because when it gets like एकदमै heavy weight, त्यो यति गर्ने energy पनि हुँदैन, and that might put too much stress on your lower back. So that's one thing that you might want to keep in mind. So it's just standing up with the bar, and it like यति भएपछि like you're done, so you don't have to do that movement. So it's just a very small tweak, but then keep that in mind the next time you train. It looks pretty good, man. Hats off. So this video comes from Anmol Sonam Rinji. So he's deadlifting again with the mats. Let's see how it goes. Ooh. So this is like a perfect example of like the ideal starting position, because his leverages are such that it looks like his back is in a perfect position. Everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. So Oiko Oiko Sushovan go deadlift na, his back had to be like in a more what do you say, more parallel to the floor type of position, and which might not look ideal, but then that's how he's supposed to do. Usko case ma it's like he's already built to be deadlifting with a quite upright back. So let's see again one more time. So with your what I feel like you're doing is you're trying to almost like scoop the bar inside, so like you're trying to drive your hips forward a little bit too early. So what's that causing you to do is like you're pushing the bar away from you, and then you have to pull it back into your body again. So just take a look at that. You see that? So there's a little bit of extra movement in the bottom portion of your lift. So I'm sure you feel like that you're weaker off the floor, and then my lockout is very strong while feeling onzoala. This is this is what happened. Like this is it's very normal for this to happen. So I want you to think about using your quads to break the floor, and then pressing down against the floor and just standing straight up, rather than thinking about your hips has to drive forward while I'm feeling, because my deadlift was kind of like this, and then now I've made a correct like now I've made the correction, and it feels more solid off the floor as well. So see, you're kind of pushing the bar away from you, so just stand straight up. Yeah, man, looks pretty solid. Other than that, just think about that one cue, and then you're good to go. So he sends another video, and then he asks me to talk about RPE. I will not be critiquing on this squat technique because it looks pretty good, and then I'll give you the time to explain about what RPE actually means. So RPE भनेको चाहिँ it's called rate of perceived exertion. So it is your way of rating the level of exertion you are putting into that lift. So normally powerlifting मा चाहिँ we say RPE भनेको चाहिँ, so RPE 10 means all out failure. So if I say like the squat was RPE 10, that means I could have done nothing more. Even there, if there was a bullet, like if there was a gun in my head, I wouldn't be able to do any more reps. So that means RPE 10. So RPE 9 means if there was a gun to my head, I could just do one more rep. RP8 means you could do two more reps. RP7 means you could do three more reps. RP6 means you could do four more reps. And 9.5 means like you couldn't do any more rep, but you probably could have added a small chip. And the 8.5 means you could have done two more reps. You could have done one more rep, but you could still add some weight and do one more rep. So त्यो भनेको RP 8.5, and then it goes all the way down, and then people talk about negative RPE, all the sort of things, but that's all you need to be concerned about for now, because RPE 6 भन्दा कम्तीको exertion level मा it kind of shows that it's wasted volume. So warm up भन्छ, junk volume भनेर they categorize it separately. अनि RPE is very different. Like सबैजना मान्छेको RPEs are very different. So what an RP 8 might look for me may look much faster in someone who's very explosive, who's very powerful. And कसैकोमा चाहिँ who's very like slow grinder, their RP 7 may look like my RP 10. So it's something that you need to figure out with. So the thing that I would want to tell you is think about it as uh, just do a few AMRAP sets of like 85-90%, and then you till the time you fail, and then just look back at the videos and you estimate what the RPE is. So does it make sense or not? Just do 85%. So if your one rep max is 100, do 85 kgs late 10 reps, and then just see what it does to you. And then I hope that once you fail, you can figure out what RPE of each number look like. So next videos come from Ojas, so he sends 3 videos, so I'll just go over all of them quickly and then let you know what I feel like for each individual lift. uh, Alright, that's squat, deadlift. All the lifts look pretty solid to be honest, but obviously there's always room for improvement. So squat, now what I would like to tell you is that you need to have more control over the weight. So some of the elite lifters, right, they use a lot of stretch reflex out of the bottom to use the momentum to stand back right up, but that's a very few limited people, and then you might be one of them, but I wouldn't recommend someone who still isn't in an elite level to try and do something like that. So I would say try and have some more control over your technique, because dive bomb got hey some like you don't know yourself whether you're gonna stand back up or not. So it could kind of be dangerous, and then it might hurt the hips or something. Now I know this is a PR attempt, and PR attempts is a very good opportunity for us to look where the mistakes are, because we tend to lose some tightness. So you want to try and slow down the tempo a little bit, so you know what muscles you're using and then all those sort of things, and then try to have more control over the bar rather than the bar controlling you. So it's the alikati twist by that. So it's normal, but then try and have more control. For deadlifts, I feel like you need more posterior chain strength, so your back kind of rounds in a way that it shouldn't be rounding. Now there are some elite level lifters who pull with a bent upper back, and there's a place for that. And also, like, there is no neutral yo भनेर त्यस्तो भन्ने पनि there isn't any set rules, because neutral is a range, and this could fall in the neutral range, but I feel like it's a bit over, like just a bit more than what neutral I would consider. I would recommend you strengthen up the hamstring, so which can help you sit in a more solid position when you start off, because starting position with this back should be slightly more neutral. Like I said, neutral is a range, and you have to try and make it better, because after you start pulling it rounds even more, just a little bit. Yeah, so you can see this isn't an ideal position, even though like the bar is under your shoulders. I would try and minimize this from happening. So basically strengthen the muscles from here up to all the muscles in the lower upper back region as well. And when you're starting the pull, like you're way behind. So because like Tanu Sati, you fall into your own position already, so it's better off you start there and then just stand straight up. But strengthen a lot of muscles, do a lot of deadlifts with slower eccentrics, and go lighter, slightly lighter. But now this is a PR attempt, I can totally understand, but training should be a lot different. And for the bench press, let's just forgot how the bench was. So first thing I noticed is like your lats could be tucked in more under here, and then your hips could be more back. For now, I would recommend you ditch the belt for bench, because it definitely helps keeping tightness, but since you haven't figured out the way to arch properly, so uh, I think ditching the belt would be a slightly better idea. Other than that, your head is coming off the bench ever so slightly, which is a red light in a competition, so you need to keep that in mind. Your heels are coming off as well, so in some federations this is illegal. I would want your like knees to be slightly more outside, and then your toes in line with your knees, so you're effectively using more leg drive, and then keeping your elbows under the bar the entire time. So yani Riley, it's a bit overtucked, but then when you lock it out, it kind of like the bar comes agadi, and then you're missing the groove slightly. So right here you're like kind of, yeah, right here you're kind of like letting the bar fall forward, and which you manage to lock it out, but then sometimes it might not go your way. So just keep the elbows under the bar. So it was quite fast. Sabay ko banyo. I hope you grasp a lot of information here, and then take it from there, man. Good job on the PRs, by the way. So this is another video. This is Pipashi. She's also my online client, and then uh, we did a competition, the squat competition, and she managed to win it, squatting 150 kilos for a solid single. And she basically just sending this video to support my YouTube, I guess, because we're talking about how we could improve on technique and all those sort of things. And this is an old video, so this was a testing week where she did 120 kgs for a conservative AMRAP where she got 6 reps. So I'll let you guys look at the video first, and then we'll discuss about it. So that was 120 kgs for 6 reps. So I remember talking to her this day as well. Like her form looks pretty good from all angles, but in her we're not just trying to make her squat look better, but we're trying to, because she loves competing and then she loves winning, so we're trying to make her squat more efficient. So now we're working on more advanced technique like breathing, keeping a more neutral back. We're trying to generate equal force from the knees and the hips. We're trying to use the stretch reflex more, and then we're doing her programming for the long term. So it's a completely different case. But for this video's sake, I remember her telling like the setup is taking too much time. You'll get too tired if you walk back with 140, 150 kilos, and then you keep trying to figure out uh, how to set up the bar whenever we've spoken about this. And yeah, basically there's nothing so wrong with our technique because we're working so much on it with sub-maximal weight, and then I was giving her my feedback every single week on our check-ins. So this is a very good place to wrap up the video, just with Bipashi squatting 120 for 6 reps. And then thank you guys so much for watching all the videos if you did, because it was fun for me, and then I hope you guys learned something out of each and every situation, as everyone's so different, and then everybody requires different leverages, and what is ideal might not necessarily be ideal. And then what I'd like to take, what you I want you guys to take away from this video is, don't just follow whatever trend there is on the internet, because there are so many things, and then you should be looking at things from how it should be working for you, and then not for everybody else. So that wraps up the video. And if you've got any more questions about anything that you didn't understand in this video, please feel free to reach out to me. And then if you're interested in any sort of custom training programs, I'm currently taking a lot of online clients as well. And then if you're interested, reach out to me through email, through Facebook, through Instagram, whatever. Just reach out to me, and then we can work something out for that one as well if you want to take your gains to the next level like Bipashi did here. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.